Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today we're joined by the brilliant Aimee Davidson, who is a revenue management professional. Aimee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
It's great to have you on the show. And of course, thank you for being, I suppose, so brave to step in front of the camera. I know there's a lot of people out there that are on the market that don't feel overly comfortable with this. So I want to say a massive sort of well done to you. And for anybody that is tuning into the show today, I just want to sort of say every Friday, if you haven't been tuning in, we do a sort of candidate on the market interview. What it's all about is giving these guys an opportunity to have a platform, tell people about their experience, understand a bit more about what they're going through on the market right now, because at the end of the day, they are feeling it most. And that's what this is all about. So again, Aimee, thank you so much for joining us. I suppose let's get straight into it then. So it'd be good to understand a bit about your background, what experience that you've had, and of course, obviously what your sort of most current role was.
Sure. So really, my background started off with a degree in event management. I had no real kind of drive to move into hospitality at all. But I was very keen and eager at, graduation stage that I wanted to be earning a regular salary, wanted to be independent. I wasn't so interested in being involved in the festivals that happen once a year and things like that. Yeah. So that's what really kind of brought me towards Marriott. Obviously, they have big hospitality brands like Marriott have the roles of event managers to organise conferences and delegations that are coming to the hotel. Yeah. So I moved into that area of hospitality initially. It was really from there I was exposed to managing kind of sports teams and coach tours as well. Right. And through that role, or through those roles, there was an opportunity to kind of get involved in the forecasting of that business as well. Yeah. And that's really what moved me into revenue management. So Marriott have a really good program, the Revenue Management Development Program, which enables that step into revenue management field. Yeah. And through that process, I actually had a mentor who approached me and saw that I would be a good candidate to move into the field of revenue management. So
fantastic. It's one of these things, it's always nice to hear when you've got these forward-thinking managers that can see potential in somebody to move into another function that might benefit not only the business but also that person's career. And obviously, if anybody looks at your LinkedIn profile or has the opportunity to talk to you or look at your CV, they will see how successful your career has been within Marriott, within their revenue management arm, but not just in the UK, or all over the world. And I suppose it's really a testament to that individual, but also a testament to you at showing those skills. I suppose an interesting point, and it's just something I'm curious about, but in terms of the dynamic change, going from obviously the department you're in into revenue management, with any move, of course, there is always going to be that sort of dynamic change within it. But how was that for you going into an environment like revenue management?
I mean, as soon as I was approached by that mentor, I very quickly developed a curiosity around kind of the methodology around revenue management and the fast-paced movements in that field. Sure. So I got really, really excited, actually. And, in 2010, 2011, the start of the UK recession, yeah. That's what really kind of drove me, and I jumped into the Middle East market. Right. And took my revenue management career further afield. So during that move, I actually took a step back in my career just to learn the market dynamics of Dubai. Right. So I quickly excelled under a great leadership team as well. And I had some great exposure to like pilot projects for the region, testing new developments before they're rolled out to other hotels in the region, becoming a subject matter expert for some of the Salesforce software, and having experience with new opening hotels and acquisitions, which I wouldn't have had that experience in the UK. So it was a really great move for me.
Definitely. And again, you touching on all these different elements of the business and exposure to these different things has also created a more rounded revenue manager in you, I can imagine. One quick sort of question in terms of your sort of inception into the market, I suppose. Obviously, you said that obviously you graduated from university. What was your experience like going into the industry from university? Was it relatively straightforward? Was it slightly more difficult?
I think for me, because I had a kind of broad view of it, I was happy to move anywhere in the country. I actually found it quite easy. Now, I don't know if that's because of the route that I followed, and I went into hospitality, whereas a lot of the students on my course maybe would have taken a different route. But I was keen and eager to start working as soon as possible, and started looking before I'd actually had my graduation ceremony. So That's good. It was actually good at the time, and I found it pretty easy.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because I know that there's a number of my students that I lecture that watch these episodes. And during these difficult times, of course, they are incredibly worried about following their graduation and trying to get into work. And I think one of the biggest things that I've always said to them is start applying and start talking to people before you graduate. If you do it afterwards, you're already behind the curve, which is what you've already confirmed without me even needing to ask that question. And I think it's really interesting because at the moment, I suppose it's very difficult for any young person, whether they're a graduate or not, to get into work. And it's one of these things that hearing experiences like yours, graduating, going into hospitality and finding your feet, and of course, getting to where you are today in terms of your career, in terms of how you've approached it, and of course, the exposure, as we said, you've got. So for any students watching, there you go. Start applying and start talking to people as soon as you can before you even graduate. And now more than ever, connect and build that dialogue. I suppose, Aimee, going from your background and coming more into, I suppose, present times in terms of today, I suppose, how's your experience been? What's your experience been like on the market at the moment?
Completely different to that first time looking for a job.
On that one.
I kind of felt that when I was furloughed in April, I was expecting this redundancy to happen. So whilst I was in the UK during the summer, I had a great summer cycling. I really enjoyed myself, but I did take some time just to browse the job market. Sure. And it's been really interesting and a great experience. It's been a really long time since I've interviewed for any role outside of Marriott. I've been with them for 13 years. Yeah. So it's been a really interesting experience, really good practice, kind of learning the way different companies and different people like to interview as well. Yeah. Whether they can see your background on your CV, and a lot of people I'm coming across are interested in personality rather than, clarifying all of the skills that, you can see there in black and white.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tedious, and I can understand that. Especially when you're not getting interviews. Yeah. It's been a real roller coaster, if I'm perfectly honest. There's been weeks where I've had 4 or 5 jobs I've applied for. There's been weeks where I've not applied for any jobs.
Right. Okay.
And the same with interviews. You could have 3 or 4 interviews in a week, and you could go 2 or 3 weeks with none.
Yeah. It's just a bit erratic at the moment, I suppose. It's sort of here, there, and everywhere. I suppose in terms of, with that erratic nature of where it's at the moment and the uncertainty that comes with that, how have you kept, you know, that brain of yours and you yourself motivated during this period?
I mean, it's tough. You're getting email after email, rejection after rejection. And a lot of the time at the moment, you're not getting any individual feedback either.
Yeah.
And even when you prompt for it, you're not getting that feedback. What I would say is, like, don't take it to heart. Stay motivated. Make sure you've got a balance. Get up like you're going to go to work, whether it be to do something you enjoy for the day, or whether you're going to sit in front of your laptop and scroll through jobs and apply for jobs. But for me, it's been really important to kind of take 2 or 3 days out of the week to apply for the jobs and network, etc., through LinkedIn, rather than just 7 days a week doing it, because you'll just lose interest. Make sure you're doing things you enjoy. For me, it's been a really busy time, obviously relocating as well. Lots of admin, etc. to do. And I've also taken this time just to reconnect with friends and old colleagues. And also to expand and develop my career where I saw that there was a gap.
Sure. In terms of, you sort of mentioned gap, and I just wondered, what exactly have you done to sort of fill that gap?
So my last 9 years in the Middle East, although most of it was in revenue management, I mentioned earlier becoming a subject matter expert for the Salesforce software that Marriott use. And that led me into a more project management related role. So what I've done there is I've come on board with a company here in the UK to do my Prince 2 foundation course in project management, just as an extra thing to have on my CV and to open me up for other potential roles.
No, exactly that. And I think one thing that's become quite clear to me, as I'm sure you can imagine, I've had a lot of conversations with lots of different people, especially at a time like this. And everybody's sort of dealing with it in their own sort of way. We are humans at the end of the day, and we're all individual. Some people find it really helpful to approach their day quite sort of regimented in terms of get your bed made, get your coffee, get in front of your laptop, you know, all this sort of stuff. Other people come at it with a lot more flexibility. You know, how do I feel that day? Do I need to maybe go for a walk first thing, or do I need to go and do this, or do I need to just clear my head? And then I'll approach the job search again. And again, it could be due to, as you said before, no feedback, no interviews coming in, and it just gets overwhelming. But I do think that the professional development element, with all this disruption and with all this time that unfortunately we find ourselves with, it can be used or utilized effectively. And again, if you found a gap, or you notice or identify a way for you to develop those skills to help you going forward, when obviously things do calm down and things do find some sort of normality, whatever that means. But yeah, I do agree. I think that professional development element is massively important. I suppose moving on to the advice maybe that you would give to other people that find themselves in a very similar situation, what advice would you give to anybody else that does find themselves in the market, that is maybe getting overwhelmed or trying to find their feet?
First thing I would say is have resilience. You know, don't get knocked back by these rejections. Companies and recruiters are overwhelmed at the moment with the number of people out of work and applying for jobs. So kind of put yourself in their shoes and understand that they might have 150 applicants to reply to, and there's not, you know, that many hours in the day to reply to them all with very individual feedback. So that was one thing. You know, take a step back sometimes and review how you're handling the process. Are you making sure you're getting across your key skills and strengths to the recruiter? Is your CV the best it could be? Do you need to tailor your CV for different roles? And I think it's important as well to keep in the back of your mind, it's all about the quality of your applications rather than the quantity of applications. Don't just go applying for jobs just because they have the right job title. Make sure you're having a read through and making sure you're potentially the right fit for that role before you take the time to apply.
No, definitely.
And I guess the last thing really is, use LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to network with people that you don't know. Maybe they're popping up on your feed regularly.
Yeah.
A bit like I have with you, Tom, to be honest.
And look at us now.
So yeah, really kind of get involved on LinkedIn, comment on things, post things, chat to people, connect with people. Don't just sit back and watch, because that's not how you're going to get exposure.
No, I completely agree. I think coming on to your point about try and be more selective with your job search, applying for jobs, don't just apply for everything. I've badgered on about this for much longer than the pandemic, but I actually wrote an article on it last year, and it was all about stop quantifying your job search by just how many jobs you've applied for, by how many times you've clicked that apply now button. I think so many people end their day and talk to their partner or whoever and just say, oh, I've applied for 50 jobs today. When really, what does that actually mean? You clicked apply now and your CV's gone off into somebody's inbox somewhere. But as you say, with employers getting more and more applications these days, how often is it that they're actually going to either get round to yours or that they're going to be able to come back to you with some sort of constructive feedback? And it's one of these things where, again, one of your points was building that dialogue, getting on LinkedIn. Massively, yes. I think everybody needs to be networking now more than ever, engaging with other people, putting stuff on their LinkedIn page, getting involved in conversations, and doing things like this. This is one of the things that I'm most proudest of, is giving people this opportunity to step in front of the camera and get back in the driver's seat of their job search. It's not something I talk about sort of too much, but the job search itself for candidates these days is incredibly passive, or it can be, where it's just see a job, apply, see a job, apply. It's not the proactive approach where you're sitting right now in front of this camera telling however many people about your experience, who you are, what you can bring to the table, what you've done, and also what advice you'd give to other people. This is you having a lot more of a proactive approach to your job search rather than the usual reactive one. And it puts people like me, an agency, or other people out there in the driver's seat of your job search, when in fact you should always be in that driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat just saying, look, we need to go this way, we need to go that way. I think this is a good idea, but you're the one who ultimately drives that car. What an analogy that is. I'm writing that one down. But I got off on that. But I do believe it's true. I think every point that you've made is massively important. And I think now more than ever, people do need to be doing these things and getting a bit braver and pushing those boundaries. But Aimee, as I say, thank you so much for pushing your boundaries. Thank you for being brave and stepping in front of the camera. It's very much appreciated, and I do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, anybody that is watching this, anybody who is thinking about bringing somebody on board or thinking about recruiting for the new year, and you're looking at potentially bringing on some revenue management professionals, please do contact Aimee. I know that she would love to hear from anybody talking about opportunities, whether that be for now, whether that be for a couple of months' time, whatever it is. I know that she'd be thrilled to hear from anybody that is recruiting. She is a fantastic candidate. If you've watched this whole episode, you know that for yourself. So please do contact Aimee directly. I'll pop her details in the description below. So do not contact me. Do not contact Edwards and Finn. Contact Aimee directly, because her details will be in the description. And Aimee, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
So guys, do not forget to see who's on next week's episode now.